What's going on, duelists? It's Amazing Mike Man. Welcome to my deck profile and in-depth guide for Jurracs in Redu format, aka September 2012 format. I got first place with Jurracs twice in this format so far, back to back, and this is just the beginning. I truly do believe that Jurracs have some insane potential in this format, and you'll soon see why. First, we'll start off with my physical deck profile, and then we'll get into the guide. If you've followed my deck building before, you'll know that I was piloting Jurracs in Tengu Plant format. Well, now that Redu format, aka September 2012 format, is taking off, Jurracs are so much stronger. We finally get access to the Evolzar monsters, and that changes literally everything. First, we're going to go over a quick overview of the 10 Jurracs we play. We're on 3 Guaiba, 3 Velo, 3 Aeolo, and 1 Dino. For those of you that aren't familiar with what these cards do, I'll quickly go over what each one does. You're probably familiar with Jurrac Guaiba because they played in Dino Rabbit, and he's used to quickly establish Volzars. His effect is, if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon one Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from your deck, but it cannot declare an attack this turn. Dino Rabbit usually just summons another copy of itself, but you have the liberty of summoning any of the other Jurracs from your deck. Next up, we have 3 copies of Jurrac Velo. This guy is basically a recruiter. His effect is, if this face-up attack position card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from your deck. He's essentially a floater. If he's Book of Moon or Change of Defense by Book of Moon or enemy controller, he won't get the effect, but those instances are very rare, so he's essentially just a recruiter. We're also on 3 Jurrac Aeolo, and his effect is you contribute this card to target one level 4 or lower Jurrac in the graveyard and special summon that target. He's a level 1 tuner, and he's a fire monster with 200 defense. He is our rekindling target for the deck. And then we also have Jurrac Dino. He's a level 3 tuner, whose effect is, once per turn during either player's end phase, if this card destroyed an opponent's monster by battle this turn, you can tribute a Jurrac monster to draw 2 cards. He can tribute himself. When you play this deck, you will frequently be crashing Jurrac Velo. Some reasons for crashing Jurrac Velo. Number 1, to set up your graveyard for Rekindling or Call of the Haunted. Also, he's essentially a lone for a Blossom of the deck. By crashing him, you can grab any Jurrac you need. For example, if you have Lance or if they have a small monster on field, you can crash Velo and then get your Guaiba into play for an aggressive push. Or you might want to simply foolish a Rekindling target like Aeolo. So you would crash special Aeolo and then main phase 2, tribute the Aeolo to bring back Velo. Maybe you just need a tuner on field, so you can crash and get one of the 2 tuners. He's an incredibly versatile card who can get you anything you need. The only requirement is the opponent has to have a bigger monster, and you just have to attack into it, which is very easy to do because usually they're going to want to summon a monster bigger than Guaiba, right? Because if they summon a monster weaker than Guaiba, Guaiba can punish. But if they summon a monster bigger than Guaiba, well then Velo can punish by crashing and setting up your grave for nastier Rekindling plays down the line. Each Jurrac has a slightly different role, but the key thing here is that each Jurrac gets you another Jurrac. Guaiba and Velo can get you any Jurrac in your deck. Guaiba is for making an aggressive push, usually in a Volzar. Velo is for either playing defensively and floating, or can be used to pivot to another Jurrac, like Guaiba when it's time for a push. This is why Velo is actually deceptively the best Jurrac in the deck, because he is the most versatile. You usually want to Falsa Dig for Velo turn 1. Aeolo is also versatile, just like Velo, since he can be used to reborn any Jurrac in your grave, or remain on the field as a level 1 tuner. Dino is mainly used as a level 3 tuner, but sometimes he can get you a draw 2. Trooper is great for milling your Jurracs for a bigger Rekindling payoff. This deck plays 10 reborn cards. That's going to be 3 Call of the Haunted, 3 Rekindling, 3 Jurrac Aeolo, and of course, Monster Reborn, right? Trooper is a huge consistency boost for the deck and can turn some of your dead revival cards alive. Also, it synergizes greatly with Call of the Haunted, so he's just great to fill your graveyard. Okay, so this is your monster lineup. Let's get into the spells. First up, we play 3 Falsa Dig. This is it's just insane that the deck can just play 3 Rhoda for dinosaurs for free. We also play 3 Rekindling. This is the power card of the deck. You may be wondering how many Rekindling targets we have. Well, we only have 3. Jurrac Aeolo. But Jurrac Aeolo is the perfect Rekindling target, as you can use his effect to have him become any Jurrac in your graveyard. This means that with the right setup, your Rekindling plays can establish a Volzars or crazy synchro plays. Also, we have many ways of getting to Aeolo, since all the Jurracs we play search each other. We have 3 Guaiba, 3 Velo, 3 Falsa Dig, and of course, the 3 Aeolo himself. We also play the 2 Trooper, which also helps set up our grave for crazy Rekindling plays. Lance is very versatile. It can either be used offensively to help Guaiba establish an Volzar, or it could be used defensively to help protect Velo or your Volzars from spells and traps. We're also on 3 MST, just a fuck ton of spells and traps in this format. It just helps make sure your Guaiba pushes go through safely. We're also on 1 pot of duality for consistency. You can play 2 if you want, but the deck does special summon quite often, so for me I found that 1 is enough. Book of Moon is great, I'd play more if I could, it just helps with battle tricks, it's also just a really good staple to interrupt your opponent. And then we're on the Trinity, Monster Reborn, Heavy, Dark Hole, not too much to say there. And then being a synchro deck, we can afford to main deck Minecon, which is of course broken. Now let's get into the traps. We're on 3 Call the Haunted. This is just great for getting an extra body on field. For synchro play, you can also revive Jurrac, which is enormous. Now here's the trap lineup of like the interruption traps. We're on double Bottomless, 2 Compulse, Torrential, Deep Prison, Judgment. Your trap lineup could be, it's a very versatile, flexible, you could be whatever. I would advise against Solemn Warning though, because Solemn Warning pays life and you're crashing a lot, right? But not just that, this variant plays Card Trooper. So when that Card Trooper inevitably gets run over, that's going to be like probably around 1,500 life points you're losing. And then also on top of all the crashing with Velo and the Solemn Warning, you're either going to have like dead Solemns or you're just going to be in like a really bad position where your life is low. So I would advise against it. But I mean, it could still be good. I mean, Solemn Warning is a good card, right? So there's just, you know, if you do it, just be aware that there's going to be risks, life point risks involved. I feel like Bottomless is actually better than Warning in this format specifically. That may sound crazy, but the thing is there's no priority in this format. So if there's something like a BLS, a Scrap Dragon, a Hyperion, a Geargia X, a Shockmaster, right? If this was like a format like where there was Prio, you know, Bottomless wouldn't do shit to those guys. Like they would summon BLS or Hyperion, Chaos Orc, Prio, like get rid of your thing. But there's no Prio here, so Bottomless is more of a defensive tool. You can use this to protect your other cards. Like if I have a Drac Velo and that needs to be protected, but they summon Scrap Dragon, Hyperion, whatever, and I know they're going to try to clear my body, I can Bottomless to clear it. So the fact that there's no Prio in this format is just like honestly really cool. Makes traps so much stronger. Makes the gameplay really fun. We're on Compulse. It's just really good. There's a lot of Xyz in this format, so Compulse outs a lot of pesky cards like Wind Up Zen Mains. And then we're on a single Deep Prison, just good for removal. Torrential, you can bump this up to 2 if you like. And Solemn, because, I mean, shit, you're already making Solemn, so like another Solemn behind it, just incredible. Of course, we're on 3 Logia, 3 Dolka. You actually summon a Volzars a lot, so I really would recommend a 3 and 3, because it does come up where you're like, fuck, and like I've tried 2 and 2 or 3 and 2, and no, like you're gonna need that 3rd Dolka, you're gonna need that 3rd Logia, because when you're in the grind, man, these really do come up, and it'll make a huge difference. And or like you might not even be in a grind, you might just be popping off so much where you could summon like a fuck ton of these, you know? So like they come up. Okay, so for the rank 4 package, the standard rank 4s, we're on Steel Storm Roach, really good against Chaos Dragons, also pretty good against Agents and anything that really synchros. We're on Maystroke, just kind of a generic rank 4, could come up, especially the Book of Moon effect could help facilitate your Guaiba. We're on 1 Gemini Pearl. He's really important because if you're playing against Dino Rabbit, well, you need to out their Logia, right, which is 24. Also, 26 being bigger than Light Pulsar matters, so it's just a good stat line. It really does come up, just the fact that he's 26. And then we're on Valon de Sigma. This guy's actually kind of fucking cracked. For those of you that don't know, he is basically a Thousand Eyes Restrict and a Catastor in 1 card. You do need 3 monsters to make him. It's a generic rank 4 that needs 3 level 4s. This effect is verbatim. Once per turn, you can detach an Xyz material from this card to target one face-up attack position, affect monster your opponent controls, and equip that target to this card. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles a monster whose attribute is the same as a card equipped by this card effect, destroy that monster. So if you're going against like Dark World, for example, right, and you just summon this, steal their Grapha, equip it, well, now you're just popping every Grapha, every dark monster they summon. You're going up against Chaos Dragons or Agents. You steal their lights, and then bam, this is literally Catastor. You go up against Dino Rabbit, you steal their Volzar. Now they can't even Guaiba Lancy, right? This guy is like super soft. I'm surprised not more like rank 4 decks play this. He comes up a lot. Like it's like you're gonna do rekindling plays, make this guy, and out like a problem card. You know what I mean? Like it's so good. Now here is our synchro package. We play 5 synchros. I don't play 6s because Brio's banned and there's not really any good 6s. So we're on 1 Catastor, just like a really good card. Really good versus heroes, like insane versus heroes. We're on 2 7s because you can make 7s quite a lot. Black Rose is just really great for nuking the field, a good card. And then Jurrac. This guy is huge. Like this is like thing this deck can do that like Dino Rabbit can't, right? Dino Rabbit has an issue with outing big monsters.
they struggle against Dark Worlds in that regard. They struggle against Chaos Dragons in that regard, right? Because Volzar, Logia, and Dolka just can't get over big monsters. Well, the cool thing about Jurrac is you can make this guy. His effect is all face-up Jurracs gain 200 attack for each in the grave. Well, you're fueling your grave constantly. You're constantly setting up your grave with through Velo and Card Trooper and Falsa Dig just to search. Like, you're always fueling your grave. So this guy's going to be huge, and he pumps up your other Jurracs too. So like you can have like a 2700 attack point Guaiba. You know what I mean? And just like walk over a Light Pulsar with your Guaiba, and like he just is so broken. And then if they out him, you have 3 Call the Haunted to bring him back. He's crazy. Especially because like going up against Dark World or Chaos Dragons, they're gonna summon their big monsters and think they're chilling. Like, oh, what is he gonna do? Make a Logia? Like, I already got a big guy on field. And then bam, you summon this guy, beat over it, and then like you summon him, battle phase, Call the Haunted, bring back Guaiba, and now you have Giganoto plus Logia. What are they gonna do there? You know, it's just like so good, so good. The fact that you can just out big monsters with it is so good, and then just the fact that he can like pump up your Guaibas to make a Volzars. He's just like such a powerful card in this deck. We're on 1 Scrap Dragon. Doesn't really come up too often with your Kindling plays. When you're really popping off, you could make it by sinking a 7 and a 1. You're also on Minecon, so you could like attack into Gores, Minecon, their Gores make Scrap Dragon, or just Mineconing level 7. Or Minecon a 5, normally or 3, so he's just there for Minecon and just like other situations. He comes up, and it's just a good synchro. And then Mistorm is actually kind of fucking insane. He just, on summon, just like bounces all 3 cards your opponent controls, like, or not all 3, but target up to 3 cards your opponent controls and just bounce them. And especially in a format where like Compulse is really good, this guy is crazy. He's pretty much the same requirements as Trish. You need 3 bodies, but that's very easy for this deck to set up. 2 4s and a 1, that's all you need. And it's so easy to get that set up in Grave for Kindling, for Call the Haunted, for Guaiba plus Lance, whatever. All right, now we're gonna go into the side deck. 3 Max C for decks that special summon a lot, like Wind Up or 6 Samurai, for example. 3 Gemini Imp for Dark World, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it could come in against Gravekeeper for if they roll Tribute you, I suppose, but this is mainly here for Dark World. 2 Veiler for quite a variety of matchups, for example, Chaos Dragons, Wind-Ups as well. I mean, plenty of things Veiler's good against. 2 Knock, mainly for Geargia. I'm thinking of bumping this up to 3 because Geargia is a tougher matchup. 2 Shadow Imprisoning for Dark World. 1 Night Beam for back row decks like Hero. 1 Compulse. It's great against anything that fusions, synchros, Orxies. So Heroes, Geargia, Karakuri, just plenty of things. Wind-Ups. And Goes In is just great against Heroes, Wind-Ups, and Dino Rabbit. Anything that just doesn't have the same, that doesn't share the same attribute. And that's it for the physical deck profile. Now we're going to get into the guide.
Here's an overview for my list that got first place at Cardfinity TCG 2 weeks in a row. Shout out to Cardfinity TCG for hosting amazing locals, not just for Redu format, but for other sick retro formats like Goat format and Tengu format. They're located in East LA, so if you're a local, the link to their website and the socials are in the description of this video. Here's the other week I got first. On May 28th, there were 14 players. As you can see, my matchups were Hero Beat for round 1, Geargia Karakuri for round 2, Bubble Beat in round 3, and Bubble Beat again in the finals. This week I faced a lot of Hero. On June 4th, there were 14 players as well. Round 1 I played against Geargia Machina, round 2 I played against Chaos Dragons, round 3 I played against Dino Rabbit, and then for the finals, I played against Bubble Beat. Now that Jurracs have access to a Volzars, the Jurrac deck has 2 game plans, a long-term and a short-term game plan. Oftentimes, these game plans can and will overlap when you make the right plays. The long-term game plan involves setting up your graveyard for powerful rekindling plays down the road. You achieve this mainly through the use of Jurrac Velo. When you don't have rekindling, or if you're in a spot where you have to play defensively, the game plan is to float with your Jurrac Velo. When the opponent is attacking into your Jurrac Velo, ensure that the last monster that gets summoned off of Velo is Jurrac Aolo. On your next turn, you can use Aolo's effect to revive your Velo and continue floating. This not only lets you recycle your floaters, but it also sets up your graveyard for rekindling down the road. When floating with Jurrac Velo, you need to protect it at all costs. It is your engine. Use defensive cards like Forbidden Lance, your trap cards, and effect Veilers to protect your Jurrac Velo. If you're in a losing position, you need to get to Jurrac Velo and float with Velo until you draw a card that can get you out of the situation. Such cards are like Rekindling, Forbidden Lance, Book of Moon, Call the Haunted, Mind Control, compulsory evacuation device, or even just another normal summon. Drawing a simple Falsa Dig, oftentimes, can save you since it can convert your Jurrac on field into an Evolzar, a huge Giganoto, a Black Rose Dragon, a Catastor, or any rank 4 in your arsenal. The short-term game plan is to apply immediate pressure with Jurrac Guaiba and your Evolzars whenever there is an opening. You have constant access to Guaiba at nearly all times, with the 3 Falsa Dig, 3 Jurrac Velo, the 3 Jurrac Guaiba itself, and if you have one in the grave, you have several cards that can reborn it, such as 3 Jurrac Aolo and 3 Call of the Haunted. Since you have constant access to Guaiba at almost all times, whenever your opponent has a smaller monster, or if you have a Lance or Book of Moon that can clear a bigger monster, you can apply immediate pressure by summoning an Evolzar and controlling the game. Quick note about what to do once you achieve the Evolzars. Depending on your hand, the game state, and your read on the situation and what the opponent has, don't be too conservative with your Evolzars. Of course, if you have the read that the opponent is trying to bait you so their power plays can go through, hold your negates for something that can actually threaten you. Otherwise, if you can gain significant advantage by negating something, feel free to negate it, because with your Jurracs in the graveyard, your many reborn cards can re-establish another Evolzar quickly for you to continue controlling the game. The key thing here is knowing when to play defensively and when to play offensively. You can still achieve the game state of controlling the game with your Evolzars by playing defensively. If they have a monster with less than 1700 attack, you can threaten a Guaiba push, or if you have a Lance or a Book of Moon. But if they have a monster bigger than 1700 attack, you can set up your grave for a Kindling plays. That's one of the strengths of this deck, that you are constantly applying pressure for the opponent to not summon anything with 1700 or less attack. But if they do summon anything with more than 1700 attack, you can fuel your graveyard and set up your Kindling plays. This leads us to the next section, the strengths and weaknesses of Jurrac. Some of the main strengths of Jurrac are the powerful extra deck monsters the deck has access to, its great recursion and grind game, as well as its consistency. A cool thing about Jurrac, as opposed to other Dino decks in this format like Dino Rabbit, is that we have access to Jurrac Giganoto, which is excellent because it can be massive, bigger than all of this format's big threats, bigger than Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, bigger than a 3k Grapha that's boosted by gates. It can be even bigger than the Shining too, although that depends on how many Jurracs you have in the grave versus how many heroes they have banished. But it's easier for you to pump up Giganoto than it is for the hero player to pump up their Shining, since it's easier for you to get Jurracs in the graveyard than it is for the hero player to get their heroes banished. For hero players to pump up their Shining, they have to have Miracle. But for you to pump up Giganoto, you're already setting up the grave anyway, but if need be, you can crash your Velos to pump up your Giganoto, just like I did in this match versus Dark World when I had to out a Grapha under a Rivalry lock.
Oh, Jurrac Dino. He's a dinosaur. Oh, shit.
600.
Oh, shit. I see what's happening right now. Giganoto. Going hard. That's actually kind of sick, man.
It's gonna keep on crashing these.
Dude, that thing's getting fucking beefy. Does he have another Velo? Yeah, he's got one more. He's been playing this deck a lot. This deck seems really sick. Jurracs. I was surprised. Maybe he has the other one in hand?
Why are they so big?
That's pretty big damage. He must have drawn the other Velo, right?
It's gone.
Oh. Yellow. Back for another Velo, I guess? Or Dino. That's so gross, bro. They're huge.
Another insane strength of Giganoto is that it pumps up your Guaibas, which is terrifying for the opponent because one swing with Guaiba gets you an Evolzar that protects your huge Giganoto. Remember, you have constant access to Guaiba in this deck, so once you establish Giganoto, it's very likely you'll be able to summon a Guaiba soon after. Another strength of Giganoto is that you can just bring it back with Call of the Haunted. We have Evolzar access. Level 4 dinosaurs are just good because they facilitate Evolzars. Even in Dino Rabbit, Cabazols and Sabersaurus are still fine to draw, because if one sticks to the field, you can simply normal summon the second and have an Evolzar, instantly putting you in control of the game. Jurrac Velo has this benefit while also being a floater, meaning it is even better at sticking to the field than the vanillas are. Aeolo has the versatility of becoming a level 4 dinosaur floater or being a level 1 tuner, depending on what the situation calls for. The Evolzars just existing makes your monster lineup insanely threatening. Jurracs are very good at grinding because we play a searchable floater that we can constantly revive with all of our reborn cards. Our grind game is also excellent because we have a powerful late game payoff, Rekindling. As you thin your deck from all the Jurracs searching each other throughout the game, your deck gets thinner and thinner, and your chances of drawing your Rekindling gets higher and higher. This deck has good consistency. The whole deck searches itself, and we play many starters. The deck's weaknesses are that we are graveyard reliant, so Macrocosmos, D-Fisher, and DD Crow can hurt. Although, we can still play the game with a Banished Floodgate up because we have Jurrac Gwaiba who can make Black Rose or an Evolzar. We are also battle phase reliant, so battle traps and cards like Honest or Catastor can be issues for the deck. Be ready to counter these cards. Dolka outs Catastor and Honest. You can use Book of Moon instead of Lance if you want to play around Honest. Lance and MST can counter battle traps as well as banishing floodgates. There are some cool tech options that we'll go over later that counter Messenger of Peace and the aforementioned banished floodgates. Now, let's get into some technical play and micro decisions. The most common mistake I see when other people play Jurrac in Tengu format is that they rarely ever do this. If there's one thing you need to take away from this video, it's this section right here. This is the most important thing to remember when playing Jurracs. When you pilot this deck, you need to summon Jurrac Aeolo whenever possible. This means that if you're resolving Jurrac Gwaiba and you want to make a rank 4, first, check your graveyard and see if you have a level 4 Jurrac in your grave. If yes, summon an Aeolo from deck instead of the level 4 you were going to summon. If you're activating False Dig and you need a specific Jurrac, first, check your graveyard and see if you have that target in your graveyard. If yes, just search Aeolo. If the opponent attacks into your Jurrac Velo, but you want to keep on floating, do not summon another Velo. You can just summon Aeolo, and then when it's your turn, revive the Velo they just killed to continue floating. Another thing, do not be afraid to crash your own Velos, especially if the opponent is not attacking you. With that being said, play around battle traps if you have a read on them, but what I'm referring to is that people are not used to crashing. If it's very early game and there's no back row, and you can't necessarily clear this 1800 or higher monster, there's no reason for you not to crash. Let's say it's Neos Alias, right? You're essentially paying 200 life points to Foolish Burial your Rekindling target. Why wouldn't you do that? There are so many instances in this deck when you can get your Aeolos into play. If you're not making these plays, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Normal summoning Velo and then crashing it to grab Gwaiba for a push is oftentimes better than just normal summoning Gwaiba and swinging with it. Imagine this scenario. The opponent has a Neos Alias on field, 1 in hand and 1 back row. I know this replay is showing 2 back row, but that's because we're going to go over 2 different scenarios, one where the back row is deep prison and one where the back row is bottomless. But for the sake of simplicity, let's just pretend it's 1 back row. So the opponent has a Neos Alias on field, 1 in hand and 1 back row. We have in our hand a Forbidden Lance, a Jurrac Gwaiba, and a Jurrac Velo. Let's say you want to normal summon Gwaiba, so you can Lance their Alias and make a Logia, right? Or Dolka. Well, and you have the Lance to do it, right? So here's what could happen if you do that play. They could chain bottomless. And if you have a Lance, you could protect your Gwaiba, right? But if you do that, then Gwaiba's not beating over Alias. So you might as well just hold the Lance, and the opponent just gets a huge tempo advantage, and you're behind. Okay, but let's say the back row isn't bottomless. Okay, so you normal summon Gwaiba and declare you want to enter battle phase. But the opponent has a feeling you have a Forbidden Lance, because let's face it, this telegraphs the hell out of your play. The opponent will use Effect Veiler on your Gwaiba, and now you're cooked. Okay, but let's say the opponent doesn't have Bottomless, nor Veiler. You normal summon Gwaiba, enter battle phase, and declare an attack into their Alias. But they have Deep Prison. Well now, you can't really chain Lance, because you're going to lose the battle, right? If you use Lance to protect your Gwaiba, you're going to lose the battle. So, Deep Prison cooks you here too. Now let's look at the situation a bit differently. Let's say you normal summon Velo instead. The opponent has Bottomless? No problem. You chain Lance to protect your Velo. Now you can crash without risking getting Deep Prisoned, and then you could special summon an Aeolo from deck. because if they deprison you, you're protected by Lance, so you're pretty much don't have to worry about it. Now you go to main phase 2, activate Aeolo's effect to revive your Velo. What you've done here is that you've pivoted safely to a defensive position where you can continue floating with Velo to maintain a board presence with a level 4 dinosaur while setting up your graveyard for a future rekindling play. But let's say they don't have Bottomless, so you normal summon Velo and go for a push. You attempt to enter battle phase. They can't use Effect Veiler on you because you're going to summon your Guaiba during the battle phase when you crash. So, I mean, they could Veiler your Velo, but that would just be really bad of them. So you enter battle phase, declare an attack. The opponent's going to want to activate Deprison to get rid of your floater, right? So they do that. You can chain Lance here to protect your Jurrac Velo. Your Velo's going to crash, you can special summon Aeolo, and then safely pivot to a defensive position, where you can continue to float, or make a rekindling play in main phase 2, depending on your hand and other game state factors. This leads us to Velo Mind Games. Based on this scenario, from the opponent's perspective, holding the Deprison for the Guaiba seems like the correct play. But what if you have Rekindling? You could just be crashing your Velos to set up your graveyard with Aeolos, and might not even swing with a Guaiba. If that happens, the opponent holding the Deprison for Guaiba can backfire on them. So if they use Deprison on Velo, at least they put you on better have the Lance. But if you do have Lance, they get mega punished. If you haven't yet, I highly recommend watching this video by 10foot. He goes over poker strategies that win Yu-Gi-Oh games, and these strategies are definitely applicable in Jurrac since we have a mix of real traps, but also have the ability to bluff with sets like Fossil Dig. There's a lot of room for skill expression when piloting this deck. I also recommend reading this article called The Art of Beatdown in Retro Yu-Gi-Oh by Hand Shuffling. He doesn't mention the Jurrac deck specifically, but a lot of the philosophies that he applies to Dino Rabbit can be applied to the Jurrac deck as well. The link to this article can be found in the description of this video, as well as the link to the aforementioned poker video by 10foot. Next up, we're going to do a deep dive into rulings that you must know if you plan to play Jurrac in Redu format. Before I dive into these, I want to make an important disclaimer that I'm going over historic rulings that were used during the time period of September 2012 when Redu format was played. Some of these rulings may still apply with modern rules, while some other rulings have been changed over time and no longer apply under modern rules. If you're playing this format with historically accurate card text, historically accurate rulings and mechanics, then the rulings I'm about to go over will all apply. This ruling is a bit lesser known even in the retro community. I'm sure you're aware that if a monster like Blackwing Sure the Blue Flame or Flamvell Firedog kill a monster by battle, but are not on field themselves, then they cannot activate their effects. This ruling is different for Jurrac Guaiba and cards like it, because Jurrac Guaiba does not specify and send to the graveyard. There are many instances where Jurrac Guaiba would be able to activate where a card like Shura or Firedog would not. Examples of such instances are if Jurrac Guaiba crashes with a monster with an equal attack stat like Lila, if Jurrac Guaiba is destroyed by flip effects like Raikou, or if Jurrac Guaiba is banished by an effect like DD Warrior Lady. And of course, Jurrac Guaiba can still activate if the monster it kills is a token or is banished. An important thing to know about this ruling. This only applies in older formats where the 7-step damage step is used. The 7-step damage step was used up until 2014 when Master Rule 3 came into effect. A good rule of thumb to follow if you're unsure. Ask yourself if pendulums are legal in that format. If no, then Guaiba can trigger even if it's not on the field. If pendulums are legal in the format you're playing, then Guaiba must be face up on the field when it kills a monster by battle in order to get the effect. Here is my source, the Raging Battle Sneak Peek Ruling Document version 1.2. The link to this document is in the description of the video if you're interested. This document clarifies that monsters like Blackwing Sure the Blue Flame and Flamvell Firedog would not be able to trigger in instances where they leave the field, but monsters that do not specify and send to the graveyard, such as Blue Thunder T45, Jurrac Guaiba, or X-Saber Fullhelm Knight, they will be able to activate in all of the listed circumstances. Now we're going to go over Forbidden Lance rulings and how it operates in the damage step. I'll try to make this as simple as possible since I know damage step rulings can be a headache. Basically, here are the 7 substeps of the damage step. Forbidden Lance can be activated in either substep 1 or substep 3. It's best to hold it for substep 3, also known as before damage calculation. Let's see how Forbidden Lance interacts with Solemn Judgment and Honest. In order to find out how Forbidden Lance interacts with these cards, we'll have to take a look at the damage step breakdown. EdisonFormat.com has created a very helpful and thorough breakdown of the damage step. Remember, Edison as well as Tengu format and Redu format all use the same 7-step damage step, so the rulings in this document apply to Tengu format as well. The link to this document is in the description if you're interested. Firstly, we'll go over Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment can be activated in response to Forbidden Lance in both Substep 1, start of the damage step, and in Substep 3, before damage calculation. In both of these substeps, any number of chains can be built. This means that if you have 2 copies of Forbidden Lance in your hand, or perhaps a Lance and a Shrink, if your opponent uses Solemn Judgment on the first Forbidden Lance, after that chain is resolved, you can declare that you are still in Substep 3, before damage calculation, and then activate the second copy of Lance in a separate chain. Now for Honest. Honest can be activated in Substep 4 of the damage step, also known as damage calculation. Forbidden Lance cannot be used in Substep 4, so if they use Honest in damage calc, you will not be able to chain Lance to Honest. However, monster effects that negate activations, such as a Volzar Doka, can be used in the damage step to negate Honest. There can only be one chain built in Substep 4, damage calculation. Now we're going to go over a very niche and extremely tricky ruling that even some judges get wrong. I'm about to go over 3 scenarios that are all essentially the same scenario. Jurrac Guaiba has been negated by Effect Veiler in main phase 1, then attacks into a monster. Scenario 1, Guaiba attacks into a Lila, Lightsworn Sorceress, and both monsters are destroyed by battle. Scenario 2, Guaiba attacks a set Raikou and is destroyed by Raikou's flip effect. And then Scenario 3, Guaiba attacks into DD Warrior Lady and is banished by DD Warrior Lady's effect. The question for each of these scenarios is, when Jurrac Guaiba activates its effect, will it be negated by Effect Veiler or not? To answer this question, our source will be edisonformat.com's damage step breakdown again. At the end of Substep 4, damage calculation, the monsters that lost the battle are marked as destroyed by battle, but they remain face up on the field as we move to the next substep. The next substep is Substep 5, but nothing relevant to the scenario happens here, so we can skip ahead to Substep 6. Now that we're in Substep 6, a chain will be built with flip effects, like Raikou, or trigger-like effects that met their trigger condition, like DD Warrior Lady. These chains will resolve, and Jurrac Guaiba will be either destroyed or banished, depending on the scenario. Now let's move on to Substep 7, end of the damage step. The very first thing to happen in Substep 7 is that monsters that were previously marked as destroyed by battle, they get sent to the graveyard. So in the Lila scenario, both Guaiba and Lila would get sent to the graveyard. Then, after that happens, a chain will be built with trigger effects that met their trigger condition. This document specifically states that if it's a when this card destroys a monster by battle effect, such as Jurrac Guaiba, it will be able to activate even if that monster is no longer face up in the field. So in all 3 of these scenarios, Jurrac Guaiba was removed from the field before activating its effect. In the examples with Raikou and Lila, Jurrac Guaiba activates and resolves in the graveyard, so it would not be negated by Effect Veiler anymore. In the example with DD Warrior Lady, Jurrac Guaiba activates and resolves in the Banish Zone, so it would also not be negated by Effect Veiler anymore. I have another source that directly addresses this question. A post in the Facebook group called The Judge's Lounge. This user asks essentially the same question, except he's using Blue Thunder T45 instead of Jurrac Guaiba, and he's using Forbidden Chalice instead of Effect Veiler. The answer given aligns with the answer shown in the damage step breakdown. For those of you interested, the link to this post can be found in the description below. Our next ruling scenario poses the question, if my Jurrac Dino destroys an opponent's monster by battle, but the opponent uses Effect Veiler in main phase 2, do I still get the draw 2 in the end phase? Those of you familiar with Genex Neutron's rulings are familiar with how this is ruled because it's essentially the same scenario. Basically, if the opponent uses Effect Veiler on your optional end phase effect, when you go to the end phase, you can pass priority to the opponent for them to make an action. Then they can pass priority back to you. You can then pass it back to them a second time, because you do not have any mandatory end phase effects that you are forced to resolve. The opponent will then be forced to resolve their mandatory end phase effect, which is Effect Veiler. After their Effect Veiler has resolved, you can then use your optional end phase effect, which will resolve successfully since it's no longer being negated by Veiler. This ruling applies to Jurrac Dino, Genex Neutron, and any other optional end phase effects. I have 2 sources for this, both of which can be found in the description of the video. One source is a breakdown by WhoNeedsMeta, and the other source is a Pojo post from 2011. Now we are going to discuss how Jurrac Aolo interacts with Effect Veiler. It's important to first establish that there is no ignition effect priority in Redu format. In older formats, where priority was still a thing, like in Tengu format, you could simply just declare priority on Aolo's normal summon, and the opponent would not be able to use Effect Veiler, similar to how Lone Fire Blossom or Rescue Rabbit used to work. But in this format, the opponent absolutely can use Effect Veiler on your Jurrac Aolo before you can use its effect, since there is no longer ignition effect priority anymore. With that being said, oftentimes, you are summoning Jurrac through the effect of Jurrac Velo or Jurrac Guaiba in the battle phase. So in a sense, you still are able to dodge Effect Veiler if you sequence your plays correctly. Before we can get into that, we have to first understand how turn player priority works, which is still a thing in all Yu-Gi-Oh formats, even modern Yu-Gi-Oh. Basically, in simple terms, at the start of every single phase, the turn player always has the ability to either take an action or pass priority to the opponent for them to take an action. Even if the opponent has a quick effect, such as Effect Veiler, they cannot just activate it first just because it's spell speed 2. So if you crash your Jurrac Velo into an opponent's monster and special summon Jurrac in the battle phase, once you enter main phase 2, you have the first action. So if your first action is to use Aeolo's effect, tributing itself and targeting a Jurrac in the graveyard, the opponent will not have a chance to use their Effect Veiler on your Jurrac Aeolo. Remember that Effect Veiler can only be used in main phase, so they cannot use Effect Veiler on your Aeolo in the battle phase. Jurrac Aeolo and Jurrac Dino both tribute themselves for cost, so they both resolve successfully when Skill Drain is active. When Jurrac Velo and Jurrac Guaiba as well crash with an opponent's monster, if there are multiple effects that are activating in the same chain link, the mandatory effect will always be chain link 1. Jurrac Velo and Jurrac Guaiba are both optional effects. Some examples that can come up for you are as follows. Reborn Tengu is mandatory. Elemental Hero Absolute Zero is mandatory as well. And so is Machina Fortress. Since they both have 2500 attack, if they are lanced, they will crash with Velo and they will be chain link 1. If your Jurrac Velo crashes with an opponent's monster, and there are multiple optional effects activating in the same chain link, the turn player will always be chain link 1. Some examples where this could come up is in the Dino Rabbit matchup, when you crash your Velo with an opponent's Guaiba, or your Guaiba with an opponent's Guaiba, or in the Chaos Dragon matchup, when you lance their Light Pulsar Dragon. Some of these rulings are extremely niche, and it's very possible not every judge is familiar with some of these lesser-known rulings. Before attending a bigger event, remember to ask the head judge just to be on the safe side. Next up, we're going to go over tech choices. There's a lot of room for innovation with Jurrac in this format because currently, as far as I know, I'm the only person cooking Jurrac in Redu format. Here are some tech options that I think are also pretty good, with a great deal of synergies. I'm sure there are even more directions to take this deck, and even more ways to optimize this deck that will be discovered as more people start cooking with Jurracs. First off, we got Starlight Road. If you look at my deck, we only play 12 monsters. That means we have 28 out of 40 cards we can set. Starlight Road works well with this deck, not just because we can set most of the cards in this deck, like False Dig, Rekindling, Lance, but also because it allows us to play freely into Torrential or Mirror Force. Upstart Goblin is just good for consistency. I'm still in the early stages of figuring out this deck in Redu format, but Upstart is just good in general here because it can turbo you to your Kindlings. Also, it boosts consistency for seeing your starters. You can play double Duality if you want, it's great going first, but being on 2 Duality and 3 Falsa Dig can make you weak to Thunder King. Also, you do special summon quite a lot. When the opponent attacks into your Velo, and you summon Aeolo from deck, on your turn you have to use Aeolo's effect to revive a Jurrac, and that turns off your Duality. I've tested it with 2, and it can be kind of hard to find the time to fire off the Duality sometimes. 1 has been great for me though, personally, but maybe you'll find it that 2 works better for you in your build. Here we just have good generic traps like Solemn Warning, Torrential, Deep Prison, Compulse. You can adjust your trap lineup to your liking. Max C and Effect Veiler are good cards in general, but they are exceptional in Jurrac. When you use Max C or Effect Veiler on monsters like Tour Guide, Wind Up Rat, Rescue Rabbit, Venus, the Agent, Geargia Arsenal, you force them into an awkward position where they either have to leave their weak monster on field because they got Veilered, or they have to give you draws because they got Maxied, or they kind of like don't want to give you draws, so they keep the weak monster on field. And when they do that, when there's a weak body on field, your Guaiba essentially gets to resolve for free, and you get an Avulzar, and you're definitely winning that game. So these cards are just really strong in Jurrac because of that reason. Not to mention, since you play Falsa Dig, you play 6 Guaibas, whereas something like Dino Rabbit only plays 3. And that's not even considering if they have a bigger monster on field, you can just get Velo, and then Velo crash, get Guaiba, and then Guaiba kill the weaker monster. However, the issue with hand traps in the main deck is that in this meta, it's very risky to main hand traps, because you could be paired against a matchup where they're dead, like Heroes or Dark World. Thunder King has great synergies with Jurrac. We're on Triple Call the Haunted to bring it back once the opponent is forced to out it. Also, Forbidden Lance pairs really well with Thunder King because it protects Thunder King from either spells or traps, or a monster trying to beat over it or crash into it. Nightbeam can be played in an aggressive variant of Jurrac, like it is in Bubble Beat, to ensure your Guaiba's resolve so you can control the game right off the bat. You can play cards like Shrink or Rush Recklessly or even Ego Boost to help resolve your Guaiba. I would only add like 1 or 2 copies of these to the main deck, but they do help out a lot. Shrink can let you clear a big body like BLS, Dad, Grapha, or Red Eyes Darkness Metal. Rush Recklessly seems really bad at first glance, but it solves a problem that Jurracs have that neither Lance or Shrink can solve, and that's clearing monsters with high defense. It can be really difficult for Jurrac to clear something like a Geargia armor or a defense position Chaos Orc. Rush Recklessly allows us to do that where Lance and Shrink cannot. Ego Boost does the same thing, and it could be considered a bit better because it boosts by 1000 attack, whereas Rush Recklessly only boosts by 700. But the downside of Ego Boost is that you cannot use Ego Boost in damage step, only on attack declaration. So the opponent can get a +1 on you if they have a battle trap. So Ego Boost is riskier than Rush Recklessly. Molten Destruction also seems like a bad card at first glance, but actually can be pretty good in Jurrac. Not only does it remain on field and boost all your Guaibas to 2200, letting it clear Thunder King, level 4 heroes, Geargia armors, pretty much most normal summons, but it also boosts your Logias to 2900 and your Dolkas to 2800. That is actually really crazy because now the opponent can't just walk over them with a big monster like a Light Pulsar or a Grapha. The downside on Molten Destruction is the opponent can MST it on attack deck and they can gain a +1 on you. But you can play around this by reading the opponent's back row and clearing back row before pushing with Molten Destruction. Low-key, I think this card is really slept on and I think it actually has a lot of main deck potential. You can main or side Decree in Jurrac if you forgo traps. You could play hand traps as your defense, and Decree can be good because your Guaibas will resolve with no problem. Also, your battle spells like Lance sort of act as D-prisons, and your Evolzars can provide further interruption. There is 3 MST in this format though, so that's something to be aware of if you decide to go balls to the wall and main deck Decree. Let's move on to some side deck options. You can always bump Gozen to 2 or 3 in the side. Gozen's incredible against Windups, Dino Rabbit, and Hero. You have lots of good fire targets in the extra, not just Evolzars, but also Giganoto and Black Rose. Raikou is an excellent side deck option because it gives the deck much needed removal. Raikou can make Light Pulsar or the Shining miss timing, but it can also clear floodgates that hurt this deck, like Messenger of Peace, Macrocosmos, Royal Decree, etc. The milling effect is also good because of the nature of the deck. The cool thing about Raikou is that it's handy in matchups where you don't want to keep your back row removal in, like Chaos Dragons for instance, but you know that they're going to side in their floodgates like Messenger of Peace, Decree, Rivalry of Warlords, etc. Blackhorn of Heaven is just a good card that can stop boss monsters like Light Pulsar or BLS from being dropped on you. It's also great against Xyz or Synchro Summons. Close Forest is really only good against field spell decks, but it can come up against Dark World or Gravekeeper. I wouldn't recommend it in this format, but if you fear GK, which is valid, this is their kryptonite. You can also make an Ancient Fairy Dragon, which can search it, and it really messes up Gravekeepers or Dark Worlds. For back row removal side options, there are quite a few. I've already went over Decree, but 7 Tools is great because it counters any trap, and being able to counter Solemn Warning or Solemn Judgment is just really good. Twister may seem like a bad choice at first glance, since we'd have 3 MST, but having Twister as a 4th or 5th copy can actually come up against a lot of cards in this format. Not only does it out floodgates like Messenger of Peace, Royal Decree, Rivalry of Warlords, Macrocosmos, D-Fisher, but it actually can clear engine cards that a lot of the relevant decks play, like Windup Factory, Gates of Dark World, or the continuous spells in 6 Sams. You might be asking, why not just play Dust Tornado over Twister? And Dust Tornado isn't necessarily a bad option, but the thing about Twister is that it's a quick play, so you can activate it right when you top deck it to clear the floodgate that turn, as opposed to drawing a Dust Tornado, being forced to set it, and then if the opponent has an MST of their own, they can clear your dust, and you're still stuck being floodgated. Also, Twister can clear Royal Decree, whereas Dust Tornado cannot. Moving on to the extra deck options, we've got Photon Papilloperative, which really only comes up if the opponent is stalling with Spirit Reaper. If you don't have the Lance, then you need this in your extra deck to be able to deal with the Spirit Reaper. I would 100% recommend this guy because he does come up. I probably need to make space for him myself, I'm just unsure who to cut for him. Jurracs can make Shockmaster since this deck does play a lot of level 4s. However, Evolzars accomplish essentially the same thing and they only require 2 bodies. Windup Zenmains, or any rank 3, can come up rarely since we do play Trooper and the level 3 Jurrac Dino. We also do play Minecon, so we could like Minecon a Sangan and Overlay, so it can come up. Thunder Spark Dragon is a card that can come up too since it can be great for breaking boards. It requires 3 level 4 monsters and it destroys all other face-up monsters in the field. Jurrac Volfito can come up against Geargia. This card completely shuts down Geargia armor. The thing is that a Volzar Doka also clears Geargia armor, and afterwards it applies pressure by being able to negate a second monster effect. The main reason to run Velfito is because there could be a situation in the Geargia matchup where you just can't make a Doka because you only have a YOLO in hand and not a second level 4. This could come up, but for me, not often enough to warrant running it. AFD can come up if you play Molten Destruction or if you side deck Closed Forest. Being able to pop a Gates of Dark World and search your own Molten Destruction can be pretty good. You can play a second Giganoto if you have space. The second Giganoto can come up if the first one gets banished and you cannot bring it back with Call of the Haunted. Also, the cool thing about playing 2 copies is that if you have both on field, their effects stack, so they can get twice as big as they normally would get. Laval Dual Slasher does not have a relevant effect, but the reason you would play him is that he has 200 defense and is a rekindling target that you can make. The issue is that if you resolve rekindling, sure, you can bring him back and make a lot of cool synchro plays, but there aren't really any good level 6 synchros in this format. So if you're making him, in order for him to be any good, you have to have a Jurrac Dino engrave and rekindling so you can make Scrap Dragon specifically. I would only recommend him in a format like 1103 Nexus format, Crow format, or Shockwave format, where you have access to Bryonic.
Now it's the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's get into some replays to see what Jurracs can do.
Our first replay is going to be up against Geargia. We go first. We open pretty good. I decide to set Falso Dig as a bluff early on, right? So if they have heavy and they decide to slam it down, they get rid of the Falso Dig, or, you know, they want to go for a strong early game push and MST my back row, they clear Falso Dig. Of course, start by normal summoning Velo, get my engine online. Opponent wants to get their engine online as well, so they get their Geargia armor, and they set 3. Call, Deep Prison, and TT. I decided not to set the MST. I can't remember why. Honestly, it wasn't to play around Call. I had another reason. Oh, I remember why. Because I wanted to Black Rose, right? That's right. I wanted to wait a turn and then Black Rose him. And since, you know, I was going to nuke the field anyway, I wanted to hold the MST on hand, right? I didn't want to Black Rose right now into all this back row. I wanted to wait a turn and then normal summon Dino, make Black Rose, while I had the Judgment set to make sure that Black Rose play went through. So it was just kind of a happy coincidence that I had the MST in hand to counter the Call of the Haunted. He generates some value with armor. No big deal. I mean, it is a big deal, but yeah. I mean, I have Black Rose coming, so. But then he makes Silver Mountain and stops my Solemn, which hurts. But yeah, and then he MSTs the Falsa Dig. I'm like, hell yeah, man! You know, that bluff paid off because I have Call the Haunted that's live. This is like such an important card, man, and we'll see why. It comes up later. He makes Geargia X, generates more value, and I know he added back Accelerator, so I know he has an Accelerator in hand. So he kills my Velo. He gets to summon someone back, and I get to summon a Velo. Fuel my graveyard for power plays. I get my Aolo into rotation, and he gets an armor into play. And I top deck Rekindling, which is just nuts. And I have so many different like lines I could do. And when I say big think, I mean big think. Because at the time, I have no idea what his back rows are, right? So you have to play like very carefully into the situation because you have like extremely powerful plays, but you have to like really make the right plays to see the results and reap the rewards, right? Because if you just play into like the wrong back row, it could all go to shit. So I want to crash into the Silver Mountain. And it's like fine if he does bring someone back, right? Because then I could just go Guaiba and plush like crazy. So this is really cool here. He Deep Prisons, but I have Call the Haunted for the follow-up. So what I'm doing here is I'm just setting up my graveyard for a massive Rekindling play. Also keep in mind, I did not use my normal summon yet. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to set up my graveyard, then normal summon Dino, make Black Rose, and that'll force out that. And then after that forces out whatever that is or clears everything, then I'm going to go with Rekindling once it's a simplified game state and establish an Volzar. Yep, just like I said. Black Rose nukes everything. Whatever he'd had, it wasn't anything to stop. It wasn't like a Solemn Warning or anything. It wasn't anything that could have stopped my my Black Rose. And he floats with that, which is no problem because my Guaiba will punish the hell out of that. And then simplified game state, my Rekindling just establishes in a Volzar. So this is great, especially because I know one of the cards in his hand is Geargia Accelerator, which doesn't really do anything to my Dolka. He top decks Warning. And then I top deck another Rekindling, which is just incredible, man. So he warnings my Gwaiba, pays 2k, and then I just activate Rekindling, which is just crazy, because then I could just get Gwaiba, and it's going to be what? Another Evolzar and like a Velo or something? Or another Gwaiba? And it's just like, how do you out that, you know? So he just scoops. We go to next game. He goes first, gets his Accelerator into play, gets his Geargiano into play so he can float, and then he makes Geargia an X, adds back Accelerator, and this is like a pretty solid turn 1. I mean, he did kind of have to commit two cards, but this also recuperated that advantage. So he still has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He still has a 6 cards going first, essentially. And if I don't deal with this, he's going to continue to amass advantage. So that's a really strong turn 1 play from the opponent. Sets a back row. It makes sense to play around heavy. I clear it with MST. I had Lance too to clear to play through bottomless as well. And here you might be thinking, oh, grab Gwaiba. No, you grab Velo here because what you do is you want to crash Velo, get Gwaiba in battle phase. 1, it plays around to effect Valor, but 2, it sets up your graveyard. Right, so for Kindlings, Call the Haunted down the road, like, you know, because once you establish a Logia or Dolka, you're not going to have anything in the grave. So it's important to crash your Velo before I, you know, beat over this Geargia X with Lance. And you want to crash Velo to set up your graveyard. 1, so your Aeolo's live, right, because you have a Reborn card in hand. So if you don't do that, you Falsa Dig for the wrong card. You Falsa Dig for the wrong card, you Falsa Dig for Gwaiba, your Aeolo's going to be dead. So you got to make sure you always choose the right card. So yeah, I crash Velo, get Gwaiba, Lance in the damage step, and now I have an Evolzar, so I'm in the lead here. And cool thing is he leaves up a little guy for me to kill later. Dolka set a back row pass. I'm in a pretty good spot here. And I top deck Falsa Dig, which is excellent because I can get a Gwaiba. Because I don't have Gwaiba in grave, I have Velo in grave. So Aeolo's not going to be able to punish this Geargiano, but Falsa Dig is. Now, it could be considered greedy to summon Gwaiba because I'm playing hard into Torrential, but I figured I kind of weighed the pros and cons here because like if he doesn't have Torrential, I either win or I trade 1 for 1, which is like really good. And if he does have Torrential, it's pretty bad. And plus I was up again, so I felt like it was worth the. I took the risk, you know. Yeah. So he top decks Compulse, which is gonna out my Dolka. He tries to Call the Haunted, bring this back, but I bottomless it, so I'm still kind of controlling the game here with Dolka. And yeah, so I have another way to get to Gwaiba. So that Compulse isn't going to do too much because I'm going to establish an Evolzar right after. So YOLO, bring back Gwaiba, go battle phase, Gwaiba kill it, Gwaiba effect. Yep, and then he's going to Compulse the Dolka, right? Before I can make Logia to protect the Dolka. It makes sense. And then here I decide to make Logia anyway because I'm like, what if he has more Compulses? What if he top decks into like Duality into Compulse or, you know, Dark Hole or something? So I felt like in this game state, Logia was just a bit better. So I go for Logia. He Soul Takers. I negate, which is a good thing I went for Logia because he did top deck a Soul Taker. And he makes Leviathan, and now I'm in a pretty bad spot. He has a 2500 beater, and I top deck bottomless, and I'm like, fuck. So he goes card D and generates even more advantage. Luckily, this keeps me alive a bit longer. And I top deck heavy, and I'm like, fuck, man. Okay. So he MSTs my bottomless, and I'm like kind of mega cooked. I'm like hoping I don't die. If I live and I top deck literally Rekindling, I can turn it around because I have like 2 Aeolos in grave. Because remember what I said earlier? Summon an Aeolo whenever possible. That's exactly what I was doing. And now, if I do top deck a Rekindling, I am in such a great spot. However, if I wasn't playing like that, the Rekindling wouldn't do jack shit. So, I mean, it would be okay, but it's going to be a lot better here. And guess what card I top deck? Take a guess. Take a guess what card I top deck. Yep, Rekindling, man. It really got me out of a pinch. I fucking love Rekindling. Such a good card. So, I Rekindling, and this is 2 Aeolo is obviously a lot better than 1 because I'm able to do more. But what I do here, I'm basically going to go for Giganoto plus Gwaiba. It's going to be really excellent. And you might be thinking, oh, what if the opponent just had a 3000 Leviathan? Well, I would have actually brought back Velo, and then I would have had Velo crash into Leviathan to get a Gwaiba. Because then that would have made Giganoto's effect a bit stronger, and then I would have been able to beat over it. but I knock clear the armor, and then I just beat over the Leviathan, and now it's going to be an incredible game state where it's really in my favor, because now I have this huge beater plus a Logia to protect it. So he activates Duality, or not Duality, sorry, Avarice. And I'm like, man, that's a +1. I gotta negate it, bro, because who knows what he could draw into, right? So I negate it. And then he makes a Utopia. And I also think, if I remember correctly, I knew some of the cards in his hand. I think I knew both of these cards. So I knew he could make a rank 4, but like I'd rather, you know, like Yugioh can just out whatever rank 4 he makes. Because what's like the most problematic one for Yugioh is the one that's a Book of Moon effect. What's it called? It's a Jin. It's a Jin, but it only has 1800 attack, so he wouldn't even be able to clear Yugioh if he were to Book of Moon it face down. So he sets, I heavy here, and then I just beat over it. And then this Compulse is going to deal with the Utopia, and or, you know, I mean, honestly, I'm not even like too worried about the Utopia, so I'm holding it. I'm not just shotgunning it because, I mean, evidently it's going to come up against the Zen mains, you know? So, yeah. I go in battle phase, clear it, and that's game. This replay is going to be up against Windup. I lose the die roll, they go first. And unfortunately for them, they kind of brick. They don't really see engine, but they see a lot of defensive tools. And they play it smart. They play around heavy. They set a back row. I go Falso Dig, then I do Duality after, and what do I find? I find heavy. And him setting 1 pays off, because I want to get in there. I don't know what he's on, but I slam it down. Probably not the right play, but it is what I end up doing. I swing with 17. And I set a back row and pass. I got a Compulse set. Just a good card, good defensive tool. Top deck Falso Dig, go for Aeolo. Again, I still don't know what he's on, right? So I'm just kind of playing by the rulebook of Jurracs. Float with Velo, right? He warnings the Aeolo. I feel like he should have bottomlessed the Velo when it came out, but he doesn't really know what Jurrac does, I assume. So, you know, can't really blame him for that. Here I see a set, so I have no idea what it is. So I, oh, there we go. That went by kind of fast, sorry. But I go Guaiba, and then he bottomlesses it, so that tells me, okay, whatever set that is, Guaiba threatens it. So I chain Compulse to bounce my Guaiba, because if that set is still there next turn, then Guaiba can continue to punish. And I was right, the set is a Wind-Up Rat. So he passes, I summon Guaiba again. He preemptively flips it, he's probably confusing it for bottomless. And then, like, after flipping it, realized it was a deprison. So he takes it back. I mean, I'm going to attack anyway because I have Lance, right? So he's going to deprison. I chain Lance. But he had the Judgment, right? So, no big deal. I got Call the Haunted. I could bring back Velo. So if he has something bigger, I could float into Guaiba. But he does not... Oh, he goes for Silver Mountain. Turns off my Call the Haunted. And here, here's why I go Dark Hole this, right? I Dark Hole this so I can go for this Rekindling play. And I could use Call the... Basically, I'm going for a game shot. Because what Rekindling does here is Rekindling gets me Catastor. And then Catastor can go for the game shot. And if that's like a deprison or something, then I could just Call the Haunted. Like if it's a Mirror Force or Torrential, I can Call the Haunted it back and kill anyway. And if not, I mean, I have the second Aeolo to float into Velo. And then I have like the Call the Haunted for continuous like follow-up. So going Rekindling here basically lets me go for a game shot while also like having follow-up if that game shot doesn't go through. He scoops. He's upset because, you know, he didn't see any of his starters. You know, invalid. I mean, I get it, you know. So we run it back with game 2. And he opens Tour Guide, Rat, and he sets Reaper. So I heavy his Mirror Force because I want to get in and punish whatever set that is. And unfortunately for me, it is a Spirit Reaper. So I set my Compulse. He heavies my single back row. I chain Compulse just for a bit of tempo. But I did not know he had a Dark Hole in hand. So unfortunately, that compulsing his Reaper kind of hurt me, because then that just gave him a really good window to Dark Hole and hand rip me. So that's what he does. Hand rips my Dark Hole. And I just kind of poke for some burn damage, set an MST and pass. Because MST, if he has Wind Up Factory, this MST could, stop that. So I set it. So here, I am very confused as to why he did this. He goes for Giga Mantis. And I mean, like, I actually talked to him about it in the chat, but, like, that's a very unusual play, right? Because, like, even if you want to go for a beater, just go Leviathan. But, like, yeah. Because, like, Leviathan's just bigger. But, But even then, like, just the better thing to do is just Zen mains, right? Because it's hard for me to deal with defense position monsters. Like, Lance doesn't deal with Zen mains. You put me on, I better have to have Compulse, you know? So this is like a very strange choice from the opponent. And I just sort of float with Velo, and he activates Messenger of Peace to stall me, right? Also, Messenger of Peace would still be great with Zen mains, because he could still attack under it. So, I asked him, why didn't you make Zen mains? It's true, it's hard for me to deal with defense position monsters. He wanted to play around Compulse or Prison, but like Compulse and Prison still deal with this, you know? And he's like, yep, because he wants to force out the force me to Prison. But like him crashing Zen mains also forces me to Prison too, because then he'll be able to pop the Velo. So I don't know. And him going Mantis is something that's going to get punished, as you'll soon see. Because I don't even have to burn Lance to clear it. Because I'm gonna MST clear the Messenger and then beat over it. Like I could, and I have this Lance for to out the Reaper. You know, if he went like Leviathan, or you know, it'd be much harder to deal with the situation. So yeah, I'm pretty much just up in cards, just swinging. I got like Dolka, Judgment, Maxi. From this position, it's like impossible for me to lose. I mean, it makes sense. He didn't want to send the rat. I mean, I guess I kind of punished him with Guaiba too many times, so he's learned his lesson. Yeah, so I set my back row. I'm in like a really good spot here. He got Torrential, and I felt like I could play into it because I had the Judgment, and also have the Lance too. So, yeah. Go for the game shot. Deep Prison, Lance, baby. Yep. Lance is such a good card, man. And yeah, I win. And we decided to run it back because he was upset. He felt unlucky. I'm like, all right, sure, yeah. How about we do like a best 2 out of 3 matches? So I'm gonna go over these 3 matches. Yeah, he opens Zenmaity, or yeah, Tour Guide into Zenmaity. So I go Guaiba, try to clear it, and it does work actually. What did he have a set? MST? Yeah. So I'm able to make Dolka. He banishes before I summon Dolka. Makes total sense. He MSTs, pops my my bluff, my Falsa Dig, and he goes Dark Hole here. I have to, obviously he's gonna try to float a rabbit, so I have to negate the rabbit. That's what I do. Yep. And then he goes Factory Rat for bring back rabbit. He's gonna get a lot of searches and like an endless cycle. It's gonna be pretty annoying to deal with because he searches Shark here, and then he overlays for Zenmains. What do I have set? I have a Deep Prison. So here I'm actually forced to Rekindling because I need to make Dolka to deal with the Zenmains. Yeah, and I don't like going for an early Rekindling, but sometimes you just kind of have to get like an early Volzar. And yeah, I just Dolka negate it. I have to out the Zenmains. So now it's just a 21 booty. It's not doing anything. And here this Deep Prison's going to come up clutch. I don't know what that is sets Reaper. So I just decided, okay, let me just get him a Trooper. Trooper's a good, like, you know, it floats into a card. You know, I'm at 8,000 life points. And it sets up my grave for future Rekindling. Why not float with Trooper, you know? And then here it's a Reaper. So I'm kind of like, I said, I don't know. I don't remember why I set this Dark Hole. But he forces out the Trooper. I draw a card. And I Dark Hole here because I need to get rid of this Reaper. And I know that Dolka will trade with the Rabbit. So. And then he tries to search off of Factory, but I tell him no because if the activation is negated, you don't get to search a Factory. However, if it's something like Effect Veiler, where you negate the effect, not the activation, you can search a Factory. So that denies him the Factory search. And here I just sort of float with Velo and just swing instead of Judgment. It's not too bad of a spot. He summons another Rabbit. Man, Rabbit is such a good card. But I Judgment it because I'm like, there's no way for me. If I let that stick, there's going to be no way for me to clear that Rabbit. So, and then he's going to generate way too much advantage off of Factory. So I Judgment the normal summon. And then I go Dino with Book of Moon set and pass. And here he's got troublesome combos of just like amassing a fuck ton of advantage because that's what Wind Up does, you know? And I Book of Moon the Shark. And here top deck Rekindling. I mean, a Falsa Dig would have done it too in this game state, but because Rekindling is actually not doing too much because I only have 1 in the grave just because of how this game played out. But yeah, I mean here it's just nuts because I'm able to walk over everything. Guaiba could trigger. I get into Volzar and I get a draw 2. Insane. So needless to say, I take this game 1 of the second match. It's hard for him to come back from this. And I top deck Call the Haunted, another Aeolo. Nice. And yeah, I just sort of negate his monster effects. And yeah, it's like, I'm just up in so many cards. Yeah, so we move on to the next game. And it's pretty funny. He's like upset. I'm like, you're playing wind up against Jurrac, and like you're upset. Like, is Rekindling the problem card of this format? He's like, nah, it's Stokalog, yeah. I'm like, dude, Shockmaster's cracked too. You're on you're on wind ups, and he hasn't seen Magician Shark or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, if he sees Magician Shark, then I don't get to play, So yeah. So he MSTs my call. I tried to go Guaiba to beat over it, but he did have the Bottomless to out the Guaiba, unfortunately. And here I have defensive tools. I got Torrential Judgment. Yeah, so I'm just going to try to find the right time to Torrential. Unfortunately, this is why Wind Up is so good, man, because like they could in their combo they can get a rabbit, so like even if you Torrential them, they still have like a body. It's pretty good. Top deck Falsa Dig, get in. I go Guaiba instead of Velo. Normally in a game state like this, you would go Velo, but in this matchup, like everything is small. Like Guaiba beats over all their normal summons, so I go Guaiba. But actually, I think that's incorrect because he can make a rank like an Xyz to beat over it. So yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to burn Judgment on this because then he's just going to make a rank 4 to beat over Guaiba, right? And if I go Velo, at least I'm forcing him to go for the rank 4 Jin, the one that Book of Moon's your monster. I mean, did I say that correctly? I meant to say if I go Velo, at least I force him to go into a rank 4 to deal with it. The rank 4 of Jin, because I don't think there's any other rank 4 that deals with Velo. And then Velo would have floated with Rekindling. So I think Falsa Digging for Guaiba was actually very incorrect here. Even though I'm like, oh, he's on a bunch of little guys, but like I think I made the mistake of underestimating how explosive Windup is. So I should have played more defensively, and that would have paid off. But I got greedy and punished for it. He goes Shockmaster in here. I don't think there's like anything that could. Oh, Compulse. I mean, shit, Compulse is pretty good. But yeah. I mean, I'm still just so far behind. Yeah, there's no coming back from that. I don't even think my graveyard was like set up enough for a Kindling play. So we go to the next game. Open pretty good. But he opens D Fisher, and unfortunately, I don't have an out to D Fisher. D Fisher can be really problematic. I chain Maxi to it because that Maxi is going to be dead otherwise, so I have to chain it to the activation. And I'm like, at least Guaiba can do something. The fact that he had D Fisher Snowman Eater is like really problematic because like D Fisher I can deal with if it's just D Fisher and like nothing else, and I'm able to still kind of control the game with Guaiba, then I'm like, okay, But if it's like D Fisher plus X Snowman Eater, and like, yeah, I'm not really gonna, or like D Fisher plus combo, it's gonna be really hard for me to deal with that situation. Like I had some defensive tools in the form of Bottomless and Lance, but yeah, it's gonna be really tough here. Yeah, that Reaper's gonna connect. Oh no, that's right, I lanced it. It's gonna be banished though. Yep. Yeah, really tough here. The double rabbit's gonna be really tough to deal with. Guaiba, I mean, him and I both know what's going on. He's not gonna banish it because like, they're just gonna come back. And I can't attack directly because of Snowman Eater, so we just sort of skip that step. It's no big deal. And yeah, he heavies, and there's like no way for me to come back from this. So I scoop it up. This was match 2. We made it to game 3. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that second match, but we're gonna see how things play out in this third match, right? And I like doing these. I like doing this when someone's like really upset because of like RNG or whatever. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's give them a chance to like we'll play a couple of matches to to give them a chance where they can actually see combo and like we can actually play it out. So that way, they're not just we're not just gonna play like one match where they're unlucky. Like we can play a couple matches. That way like luck isn't so much of a factor. So he opens Thunder King and I'm like, fuck, man, like. Thunder King just turns out like otherwise if it wasn't for the Thunder King, this hand is nuts, dude. Like Falsa Dig, like but the Thunder King turns off the Falsa Dig, but like Falsa Dig plus Rekindling and like Judgment, Bottomless, oh man, that's so good. And then heavy too. But unfortunately for me, the Thunder King is making it so I'm bricked up, you know? So, yeah. I must use back or just get some information before I scoop. There's like no way I can, yeah, there's no way I can, and yeah, a bad luck happened to both of us, happened to me too, because that was a very unlucky situation for me. It was like, they're just like so close to being a good hand. And here, I mean, shit, like double maxi against windup is pretty good. He heavies me and gets in with Thunder King. I'm like, shit. But Dark Hole for it, so it's no big deal. And I got Faucet Dig. I'm continuing to be, and here it makes sense to be greedy, right? Because I have the maxis to back up my my Guaiba. In that other game state, going Velo was the correct play. In this game state, it makes sense to go for Guaiba here, because to False Dig for YOLO, bring back Guaiba. Because in this game state, I have the double maxi, right? So if they do something to like try to overlay or like beat over my Guaiba, I have maxis to punish that play. So basically, they're gonna have like, let's say, Tour Guide into my, which is exactly what they have, the Tour Guide, right? If they summon Tour Guide, I can maxi them and put them in this weird predicament where they're like, oh fuck, do I give him the draw to out the Guaiba, or do I let him plus off the Guaiba? So in this game state, it makes sense. But unfortunately, he does have the bottomless. I maxi here. Yeah, maxi against Tour Guide isn't great if they still have Sangan in deck, but unfortunately, it's what I have to do. I need to draw something, right? And hopefully I could draw into a Guaiba to punish the Tour Guide. I draw Tour Guide just a bit too late, and he is very greedy. I mean, honestly, I don't blame him. I understand why he goes for Zen mains, because if you're playing against Jurrac, you really don't want to leave little like small bodies on field, you know? So, luckily I top deck into Compulse, so I said it. He doesn't really want to play into Torrential. I don't see why not, though, right? Because, like, you have Zen mains. Zen mains punishes Torrential. I don't know. He could get greedy and summon more guys, but he doesn't not. He decides not to. So I have the Compulse for the Zen mains. And MST is my Call of the Haunted. And now he has Magician Shark combo, but thankfully I have Maxi. And here he goes for Shockmaster, and I get so many draws. And I Valor the Shockmaster so I can get some monster effects next turn. And what's his back row? Dark Hole? Yeah. So I go at Crash, set up my graveyard. Yeah, he like preemptively assumed I had Lance, which is like, let's say I did have Lance, dude. I wouldn't have lanced you when I'm attacking with Velo. I would have gotten Guaiba first. So like, keep the monster on field, you know? But yeah. So yeah, basically, he just, I just sort of get some free foolishes, basically. I just crashed to set up my graveyard. And I set a bunch of back row. I got a Compulse to clear it. I got like Torrential in case he somehow amasses advantage again. I need to like reset the board. And then I have False Dig. So I can like, I just have more normal summons, so I can summon another dinosaur and make an Volzar. So he has D-Prison, or sorry, D-Fisher, Velo. He defishers Dark Holes, banishes my Velo. So here I just get another dinosaur and just get in. Guaiba is going to be better in this game state with the defisher up. And he has MST. I blind MST it. He chains. And I'm like, I go Negabit, but it's fine because I can get into Volzar and just control this game. Like, there's not really a way for him to come back here because just having a Volzar, and he has a Floodgate that's not really accomplishing anything right now. This is what I was saying earlier. D-Fisher can either like destroy me or it could be like nothing. Like in this situation, it's not doing much. And shit, even if I do top deck Rekindling, like it's still good here because my grave was previously set up before it. So in this game state, D-Fisher isn't causing me too much strife. But it does have the potential to completely upend my plans if it's like paired with other things, right? But oh yeah, Log is better in the spot, yeah. So I win that one. Now we're gonna go with game 3 of match 3. This is gonna be the one for all, or what's that saying? I can't remember the saying, but basically like the final match, you know, game 3 of match 3. This is gonna be the one that decides it all. Let's see how it goes. He goes Tour Guide. I Valor it. Unfortunately, I'm not drawing any monsters except Trooper. And Trooper has some unfortunate mills. I mill Rekindling heavy. That's like, it's painful, but it happens, you know? And I got some good back row. I mean, I got defensive tools. I got Compulse, goes in, Maxi, so I can stop him from playing. Plus, Trooper is going to draw me into something. So Not too bad. You know, it's not like a horrible hand. He MSTs the Gozen, and Gozen would have cooked him. But I maxi him, get some draws, and I've finally drawn to Falsa Dig. And again, because like I'm playing Jurrac, he's essentially forced to overcommit into maxi because he doesn't want to give me free Guaiba pushes. Also, that sort of telegraphs to me what's his back row. It's Judgment. So that tells me it's not like a bottomless Redu prison. He goes Utopia. Utopia makes a lot of sense in the Jurrac matchup, but my Compulse clears it. And MST is Judgment. And yeah, mill 3. And those are some good mills. Like right after some terrible mills, I get some great mills. So nice. Falsa Dig for Aeolo, because Aeolo's versatile here. I can go for either or. And just sets up my grave for a Kindling. And unfortunately, he has Magician. Hold on, he had Magician Shark. Why didn't he do that sooner? Maybe he was playing around my back row. I don't know. Wait, no, did he? Oh, he did. He did do it sooner. He had extra copies of Magician Shark. Silly me. Okay, and I had maxied him. That's right. Yeah. So I kind of get him with these guys. I got maxi with Guaiba, like the ultimate combo against Windup. It's like great. I got Lance too, in case he has like Thunder King. So we're in a pretty good spot. I maxi him, and yeah, I got Rekindling off the maxi. It's pretty nice. He overlays because he does not want to let me plus off the Guaiba. So he's like I said, he's forced to play into the maxi. And here I can attack over this and then have Rekindling, and that's like Rekindling is a 1 card of Volzar in this game state. I haven't even normal summon yet, so it's pretty good. Yeah. And that was it. That was the matchup, or the replay versus Windup. Okay, and now we have a matchup versus 6 Samurai. This was in tourney, as well as the Geargia one was tourney. The Windup one was casual. I go first. I just summon Trooper, start milling, and unfortunately, those are some awful mills. Judgment, Monster Reborn, Compulse, man. Unfortunate. At least I didn't mill Rekindling, but he summons that. I have like 2 Reborn cards in hand, so I'm like, I want to continue milling, you know? So I deprison it. Felt like that was like a fine trade, you know? And I got like, also this Torrential plus Card Trooper combo is pretty good. Like it makes it kind of hard for him to play. And I could like plus when I Torrential. It's not bad, you know? So since I got Torrential, I don't really want to overcommit into my own Torrential. And also, since he's on 6 Sams, he could pretty easily beat over Guaiba. So there's no reason for me to summon Guaiba here. I mill and just unfortunate mills. No monsters. Swing for 19. I'm not afraid of Gores in this matchup because 6 Sams just don't play Gores. So he adds Kagemusha, and he goes for a he tries to make a Xian. But a Torrential, get that +1. Or yeah. And then Trooper replaces itself. And then Falsa Dig, I finally see Falsa Dig, so I can finally get Velo online. And yeah, just swing for 17. Set call, pass. Now he goes, and he just kind of summons a bunch of monsters here. Now, the reason he attacks with this, guys, is because he's under the impression that this works just like Catastor. This card says at the end of the damage step of this card attack, destroy the monster this card attacked. This happens basically after substep 7, so this does not work the way Honey thinks it does. Basically, the way this works is first, remember how I said at substep 7, the first thing that happens in the damage step is the monster that was previously marked as destroyed by battle gets into the graveyard? Well, Velo will be in the graveyard before this even gets a chance to activate. So luckily I am well versed in damage step because I have to be, because I am a Jurrac enthusiast. So I'm able to tell him, it doesn't work the way he thinks it does, and then we kind of get a judge involved, and yeah, so that sort of thing gets cleared up. So he tries to force out all the Velos, and I go Guaiba here because Guaiba floats crashes the 17s, and he'd already attacked with everyone bigger. But then he asceticisms and brings out another 21, which is a pretty good play on his part because now he can clear the Guaiba. And he knows that this isn't like a lance or anything because I would have used it sooner. And yeah, he swings for 17, pokes with it, and then he goes Shockmaster. He calls spells, which is correct. I mean, shit, I got like double Rekindling in hand. But unfortunately for him, I got to call the Haunted, and no spells are needed to out the Shockmaster because I could just make Logia and beat over it. And now I'm in a good spot here, and then now things are going to get really insane because I'm going to go ahead and normal summon Aolo, bring back Velo, and what I'm doing here is I'm going to set up my graveyard for a powerful Rekindling play. Yep, I can clear the little body too. Aolo's effect is going to bring back the Velo, and then here I just plus like crazy. And then I also have the second Rekindling for later, once these guys go to the graveyard, because there's no reason to fire it off right now. And yeah, now it's like, how do you out like a Dolka, a Logia, and like, yeah, I have an MST for the 6M United too. It's crazy. So, there's not much he can do, so he just attacks into the Velo. But I continue floating. I MST clear one of his back rows. And like, I have the Logia to negate the Compulse. There's just like no way I lose here. I go heavy. He chains Compulse and negate. And here I can make a Gnodo and just, just amass a fuck ton of advantage. And then like, I could even just Rekindling and make another Revolzar. This game is definitely secured. So we're going to move on to game 2. And I open Maxi. He opens Maxi too. He goes first. But unfortunately for him, he doesn't really see too much engine. I go Duality, get my Lance online. So he bottomlesses a Chain Lance to protect my Velo. And I poke for 9. He is going to activate Sheen Smoke Signal. And that Minecon is going to be really good for him, because he's going to be able to steal my Velo and sink. But I drop a Maxi. And yeah, there's not too many good 6s, so he has to go for Gaia. I mean, it's still like, he's still in control of the situation here, because he has Gaia. And I don't really want to Dark Hole this, because it's going to go back to his hand. But, so I go Falso Dig for Aolo. Because, I mean, in this game state, I don't know what his back row is, but Aolo plus Rekindling is going to be nuts, because I can just set up the graveyard. But he max sees me, so I have to stop here. And I totally forgot what was his back row. It was Warning and Heavy, yeah. So, I mean, he'd probably heavy the Rekindling, but he max sees me, so I have to stop. I set my Compulse. My Compulse is going to deal with the Gaia Knight or some other problematic card. I got Max C to stop further pushes. He heavies, and I think he's heavying here because he's going to go for like a crazy push. But unfortunately, this play really backfired because, yeah, just Compulse him. So he just goes really neg. And like he had the Warning to negate the Velo. So he, that definitely was a misplay on the opponent's part. But I maxi him, I get a draw, and now he's in like a really tough spot where he like doesn't want to play into it, but he kind of has to, because Jurracs punish you if, yeah, if you leave up little guys. So here I go Aolo, bring back Velo, and here I'm just sort of floating. I'm not floating, sorry, crashing to set up my Rekindling, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bait the Shein with Dark Hole. He either negates it or he doesn't. If he does negate it, I mean, if he doesn't negate it, then I clear it. So yeah, and Shein won't be able to use the destruction substitution effect because Dark Hole's clearing both. If it was like smashing ground, he could do it, but since I'm clearing both, he can't use the destruction substitution effect. So Dark Hole is going to force out the Shein, and then my Rekindling is going to resolve, putting me in control of the game. Yep. And then since all that crashing set up my graveyard, and this is going to be a very powerful Rekindling play. And I go Mistworm. Yeah, I Mistworm to clear the Shein. And this, also keep in mind I have not normal summoned yet. So I can go ahead and normal summon my Logia and set an MST and pass. And now it's like, I'm just in the simplified game state. The opponent doesn't have really much to contest a Logia. So yeah, I'm just able to get in, make a lot of, inflict a lot of damage. And I'm not too worried about Gores because 6Ms just don't play Gores. And yeah, he skips it up, and that was versus 6Ms. And that was my in-depth guide on Jurracs in Redu format. I hope you enjoyed it, and more importantly, I hope you take what you've learned and rekindle the fuck out of the competition. Have a good one, y'all.